It's time to talk about Red Rising. It's been out for a while. People have said many good things about Red Rising, and I just got around to reading it. I'm not one for reading things that are overly hyped. I don't watch movies that are overly hyped most of the time. I even avoid video games that are overly hyped because things don't live up to it. I've never read or watched Game of Thrones. I have no intention of reading or watching Game of Thrones because most things, people read it, they think it's the best thing ever, they tell you it's the best thing ever, and it's good, but it's not the best thing ever. Red Rising, does it live up to the hype? Yes. Yes, it does. More or less, anyway. I'm not going to get into any specifics. I'm going to talk about it in general, and then I'm going to talk about some very specific things. So if people who are just trying to figure out if they want to read the book, they can listen to this and not have to worry about having the book spoiled for them. Is the story good? The story overall is pretty good. I had someone describe it to me as Hunger Games in space. I've never read Hunger Games. I've watched the first movie, and after reading the book, I understand what they mean. It does have that feel to it. I was reading the book thinking I was playing Fortnite from close to a decade ago. It was kind of like we're in the middle of nothing and we had to find a way to survive for ourselves. But the book doesn't start that way. I was kind of taken back by the way the book started. I was fine with it, but after what people told me about the book, it's not the majority of what the book is. The second half of the book, or maybe more than that, is vastly different than the opening 25% or so. The thing that sells this book, in my opinion, is the main character. I'm not going to get into a lot of detail for reasons I just said, but the main character is very well fleshed out. I can see how some people might accuse the character of being flat. He's anything but it was a very well done character. Even the side characters were very well done. The world was very well thought out. The writing was very good. Overall, Red Rising, extremely good book. I don't typically read parts of trilogies back to back. I tend to put something in the middle because I get burned out easy. I've actually already started the second book to this, which is very, very rare for me to go book to book to book. So that should tell you something. Am I going to tell you it's the best book ever? No, not really. I think it's exceptionally good, but your opinion is going to vary from mine. I will say, the main character reminds me a little bit of Ender from Ender's Game. Not that he's a kid, although you could argue he is in some regards, but in that he is focused, he has a goal, and he kind of works towards it. He is a little more ruthless than Ender is, but I can see it kind of as a play on that character, and I think it works fantastic. Now, I'm going to get into some very spoiler-heavy stuff for this book, so if you don't want to know anything else, Red Rising's great. Read it. Before I talk about spoilers, I am going to tell you about this book, Crown-and-Crucible. I wrote this book. You can see it's roughly the size of Red Rising. It's a fantasy book that follows an aging assassin and a young woman who are both kind of thrown out of their depths into a world that really is hostile towards them. The reason I bring it up, I have it in Kickstarter right now. I'm trying to raise money for an editor. You can see the book has been written. It's done. I've even got a print house that I've worked with. I've got an artist I've worked with. The book is done except for the editor. So I'm trying to raise money now for that process. And I'm going to have the links below the video or in my bio so that you can see where you can support that if you're interested. But my shameless plug aside, let's talk about specifics about Red Rising. The story is good, but it's not completely unique in the whole we have to survive and form clans to overcome what's thrown at us. That's nothing new, but it was handled in a very good way, and I appreciated some of the way that was gone about. It was gritty without being gruesome. I like Joe Abercrombie. Joe Abercrombie can be a little much, but I still like him, and I saw a little bit of that type of grit in this, and I like that because I don't like things to be sterilized. The thing that I like the most, and I've already talked about this, is the main character. I am getting really tired of reading books where I start to like the character, and then halfway, 3/4 into the book, wherever the author does it, the character has this change of heart, this revelation, this I am going to change my ways even if there wasn't a problem with them in the first place, and they end up being something that you didn't want them to be. I had that problem with the Stormlight Archive. I liked the characters until I didn't like the characters. It was a long slog to get to where you don't like the characters. Garrow, in this book, main character, if you haven't read it, he's a very angry man for very legitimate reasons. His wife was killed, his father was killed, he finds out his people are slaves, and he's going to do something about it. And he has to become the people he hates. And he has the opportunity several times to just kind of live like them, be like them. And while he does swerve back and forth a little bit, and he changes out of necessity, not out of the author saying you must change for the sake of character development or whatever reason, he changes subtly to get to his end goal. He doesn't change for the sake of changing to be somebody he wasn't at the beginning. He very much ends this book as a larger than life version of himself at the beginning. He wants to free his people. He's very angry about it at the end, and he's more determined to do it. He makes friends out of his enemies in some regards, and he regrets that one day they will have to be his enemies when he is coming for them. He likes them at the time. He knows he's going to have to fight them later, and I haven't read books 2 or 3 yet, so I'm not sure how it's going to play out. But in book 1, he has a plan. He's sticking to the plan. He stays true to who he is. The character stays true to who the character is, making adjustments for things in life to do better. I love it. I was getting tired of the change for the sake of change. And his response to that adversities he runs into, I think, are appropriate for the situation he's been put in, especially in the game after he's had to murder another boy with his bare hands. He's had to fight a house that's trying to tear itself apart. And then he's having to go and conquer his enemies, and then he ends up turning them into allies and or friends. It was just handled exceptionally well. I'm not the biggest fan of first-person books, but I think it worked really well here. First-person books to me can be a little, you don't get a lot of information about the world, but I think he handled it exceptionally well. So to me, as I said earlier, Ender's goal was to make sure people never bothered him again. They called him Ender in Ender's Game because he ended conflict. He ended whatever bothered him. Garrow is very similar in that he wants it to be over and he has a goal and he's going to make sure it happens. But he doesn't have the sentimentality that Ender does. Ender's Game, he's a little kid at the beginning. He's 6, I believe, when it starts. Garrow's 16. Ender grows up a little bit, and if you read the sequels, he becomes kind of like a super pacifist. Garrow's doesn't seem like he's going to do that. He seems like he's going to go full John Wick on some people, and I'm okay with that. Ender's Game was an amazing book. This Red Rising is an amazing book for different reasons. I like the action in Red Rising. I like that I'm not just sitting there watching people talk about their feelings all the time, although he has some strong feelings that is torn between his martyred wife and the people he's having to now work with, and he's getting to know them, and he actually likes them, even though he wants to destroy them. It's some internal conflict that he knows he's going to have to wrestle with in the future. Fantastically done. I would say this is one of the better character development books I've ever read. I think Abercrombie is just as good, maybe a little better, but it's very close. It's very close. Yeah, if you like Joe Abercrombie and the way he characterizes people, this book, it's for you. Go for it. Is there anything in the book that I didn't like? No, not really. Like I say, it was a little slow for me to get into because first person is not my favorite, and I had just come from reading a few other books that were third person. So other than that kind of intro, that was my own personal thing. It has nothing to do with the writing at all. No, there's nothing that I really found to be a problem with this book. I think across the board, it's a 5 out of 5 book, and I'm ready to read the next 2. So I hope you found that helpful. I'm a little late to the party with Red Rising, but hey, better late than never. I'm glad I read it. It lives up to the expectation, which I was surprised by. So there you have it. Go read it.